In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
I'm Nestor Licanto, and joining us this week is Mr. Pete Diaz, an engineer and a director of SAME, which has a conference coming up. Pete, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me aboard.
Okay. First of all, tell us a little bit more about what the forum is for.
Okay, so the Guam Industry Forum is the chance for the architect, engineering, construction industry to engage with the government, in this case, the Department of Defense. Obviously, there's a huge military construction program ongoing, and the purpose of the event really is to allow that engagement to happen. So, there's a lot of challenges that it takes to put on a program this large, and hopefully we can get engagement between the government, between the industry, to hopefully come up with some solutions to that. So our forum, what's different about the forum this year is we're taking more of a regional view. The construction boom is more than just the construction of Marine Corps Camp Laws in Guam. That was kind of the topic that we had this same industry forum back in 2018. The focus was on the Marine Corps relocation to Guam, but now there are a lot more projects going on. There are other Naval, Air Force, Army facilities and programs that are coming in the works. And so this is the chance for the industry to hear what's coming, the timing, the size of all those opportunities that are coming up.
All right. I said SAME earlier. I should have said SAME, which is the Society of American Military Engineers, of which Pete, as I mentioned, is a director. So tell us a little bit more about the opportunities to bid for, I guess, billions of dollars in projects, not just in Guam, as you mentioned, but throughout Micronesia.
Sure. So what we're hearing from the military leadership is that this construction boom that we're talking about, it's looking to be between $1.2 to $2 billion a year over the next 7 to 8 years in Guam, the CNMI, Palau, and FSM. A lot of it is really deterrence, right, in the Pacific. In general, the Pacific region as well. So this region extends all the way from the Indian Ocean all the way right across the Pacific to Hawaii.
Yeah, it's literally what they have always referred to as the first and second. What is it? The border or the line of defense, island chain. There you go. The first and second island chain, of which Guam now, I guess, apparently is a prominent player in the second island chain, in reference to what China's longtime, political goals have been. Also, this is an opportunity really to network, and I think that's one of the most important things of the forum. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, a construction program such as this, such as large as this, is that our capacity for our contractors on island is limited. And what we hope that this forum can bring is attract more contractors to learn about how to do business in Guam and help execute the construction program. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for networking, meeting some of the decision makers, and also just networking amongst the industry itself. With the large contractors and especially the small businesses and small contractors that we're trying to drive a lot of teaming to help out.
Yeah, and in fact, the Guam Contractors Association, as well as the Guam Chamber of Commerce, are also very heavily involved in this.
Yes, they are. So we're working directly with them they're in support of the forum. They provide a lot of feedback and support to us, and because a lot of what drives this, the contractors are a huge part of a program such as this, and then also just how this will stimulate the economy, not just for Guam, but all of the Indo-Pacific region.
Yeah, and you've got a bunch of great speakers lined up. In addition to the governor and the admiral, we have a representative from the Japanese Ministry of Defense, Miss, I can get her name right, Miss Ayumi Sakaguchi. Tell me about what she's going to be speaking on.
Yep. So Miss Sakaguchi, she's with the Ministry of Defense. She's the technical and estimate team leader for the Guam Relocation Project office. So she'll be speaking on day one of the forum. She's going to be providing a overview of the status of the Japanese funding for the relocation of assets from Japan to Guam. Her presentation will also focus on the nature of the Japan and U.S. collaboration and the public-private collaboration that's going to be required to complete the military construction.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
All right, and so the importance of having someone from the Ministry of Defense. What do you see as the significance of that?
Well, obviously, the U.S. has, is working directly with the Ministry of Defense and Japanese government. They have committed a lot of funding that is crucial for the initial development of these programs. And so, yep, it's definitely good to hear from them and make sure to hear what they have to say. And essentially, what they want to do is make sure that in the construction program gets built. And so it's good to always get their perspective.
Yeah, and as I understand it too, as part of the agreement, a lot of Japanese companies are also involved so that they can also partake of, the money that and the funding that the Japanese government is providing, because it's a joint thing between the U.S. and Japan in relocating U.S. Marines from down to Japan. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you see a lot of joint ventures happen between, the Japanese companies, construction companies, and U.S. and Guam companies. And so, another thing about our forum too is, whenever you're forming new entities such as joint ventures, obviously there's a learning curve associated with that. And that's kind of another thing that our forum hopes to do is, if there are any lessons learned that new companies, who are considering forming joint ventures to pursue some of these projects, they kind of learn from that, and hopefully that leads to more success.
Yeah, and learning and local contractors too can gain from this, right? Especially the smaller businesses and working alongside maybe some more seasoned contractors.
Exactly. There's always that small business, they're trying to achieve more participation with small businesses. So yes, this is an opportunity for small businesses to come and network and find out more about the program and how to partner with some of the larger contractors.
Yeah, and also there's some. I just gotta say, I drove down to the Starts Golf Course for the first time in a while, and I hadn't really seen all the stuff that's been going on at Camp Blas. And so when I did come across that, there's these huge new buildings. It's wide open, and the road is just a beautiful road. I mean, it's like driving in the States or something, right?
Right. Yeah. So you see a lot of that funding, also coming not just within the military installations, but some of those funding is also diverted to improve, for example, the roads that lead up to the base. A lot of funding that's also come into play outside has been the Northern District Wastewater Treatment Plant. If you've been up there and take a look at that facility, that's been upgraded to secondary treatment, which is obviously in part because of this expansion for Camp Blas, a part of the mitigation measures for that new construction was, hey, you're going to be impacting our wastewater facilities, so we're going to need some support in expanding that. And so that's kind of some of the fruits from what this buildup has led to.
Absolutely, that's what I was gonna mention. The fact that not only are those roads being built, because of the military traffic, but also civilians are going to be traversing that on a daily basis. And as you mentioned, the Northern Wastewater Treatment Plant, that was funding provided by the feds for expanding that because of the use of the Camp Blas residents but also the civilian population that surrounds that is also going to be benefiting from that. So these are all these different things that this construction, while the federal funding is specifically for Camp Blas, the offshoot of it is that local community members are also going to benefit, particularly the folks that live in and around that area. All right, so we've also got Rob Biederman, who is the SAME Director of Industry Government Engagement and Programs. And what is Mr. Biederman going to be speaking about?
Well, what he's going to talk about is really just kind of give our attendees a brief synopsis of what SAME is, and what our organization is trying to do is to be the leader in collaboration between industry and government. So our main purpose really is to set up industry government engagement events just like this forum to kind of help find solutions to infrastructure problems that have an impact towards national security. So he's going to talk about SAME, how we formed, and what our purpose is about.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that. Your formation of the SAME and your purpose, especially in light of this this big buildup.
Sure. So the Society of American Military Engineers was founded in 1920, and so that came out of the effects of the World War. And so what had happened was there were civilian engineers that were called to action to help support the military. And after that war, they didn't want to lose the collaboration and camaraderie between the military engineers and the civilian engineers. So they formed the society to kind of, to keep that going. And so through the years, the mission of the society is really that it's to be an integrator, a collaboration point where we can bring folks from the military, from the government, from academia, from private industry together to really figure out solutions that impact, projects that impact national security. Because at the end of the day, national security impacts everybody, especially here in Guam and where we're situated.
Absolutely, and while it's called the Society of American Military Engineers, it's not necessarily just for military engineers, correct?
That's correct. So yeah, one of the famous things that we like to say is you don't have to be an American, you don't have to be in the military, you don't even have to be an engineer to be part of our society. Because really what it comes down to is any entity or company that engages with the military that supports national security, they're welcome to join our society.
Yeah. All right. And then another guest is Neil Oranger, who is the president of Applied Science and Technology Research Organization of America. What's Mr. Oranger speaking on?
Yeah, so Mr. Oranger, this is going to be an exciting talk. So he's going to be talking about how the Navy is exploring how 3D printing, industrial printing, can be used to kind of shore up, obviously, the supply chain issues related to critical parts. And so they're going to be exploring the feasibility of having industrial 3D printing here in Guam to be able to support the Navy.
Yeah, 3D printing. How much do you know about that? Because I know that the governor has spoken on that as a potential, diversification of local industry. When I think 3D printing, I'm thinking, something magically appears out of a printer that is a hard, but that's not quite right, is it, Pete?
Well, that's what we're going to be hoping to hear from Mr. Neil. I'm familiar with the 3D printing that is used, and they have they use recycled plastics, and they're able to print 3D structures, and they're able to model it in 3D. But I'm interested in learning more about what the industrial part of it is, because if you think about parts that are needed for engines, components in ships, or maybe even aircraft, it sounds like that will encompass more than just plastics that we're kind of used to seeing with 3D printing. I'm wondering what kind of materials that they're going to be using. So to learn more, you can check out our conference for sure.
Yeah. As an engineer, do you see a lot of opportunities for young engineers, particularly from our community who may have gone elsewhere in search of better jobs, or maybe just finishing up their college and stuff in the States, to come back home and join this?
Yes, for sure. And we're seeing a lot of opportunities, and it's funny that you mentioned that. So I've been kind of helping support the School of Engineering at the University of Guam, and so we've stood up a School of Engineering. Civil engineering is the degree program that they currently have at the university, and one of the students, a recent graduate, had mentioned to me that he just recently got a job with one of the local contractors, helping them with their projects. And so yes, we're seeing a lot of need for that. We get a lot of companies that are trying to bring in engineers from off island, but if we could, shore up that and have folks who, live and are from Guam, that works the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any other spillover professions or industries that could benefit as well from the buildup?
Oh yeah. So in addition to obviously architects and engineers, scientists, environmental permitting is a huge push here, a major reason for having environmental scientists on board. Obviously the contractors, so the Guam Trades Academy, all the efforts that they're developing their workforce there, developing, local construction trades on Guam is going to be very important. And then we also have our vendors and our service providers are going to be huge as well, to make sure that they're able to bring in the materials and also provide maintenance, once these facilities are constructed.
Yeah, and while there has been the construction going on for a few years now, we're still quite a ways away from the final, when the final hole is dug and filled in. I mean, we're still about 7 or 8 years at least so there's plenty of opportunity. Yes.
Plenty of opportunity, and not just here in Guam. Everybody has to remember it's also happening in the CNMI. It's going to happen in Palau and FSM. So there's a lot of opportunities to avail of. And so, if you want to learn more, please come check out our forum.
Right. And we understand that there is another thing that's going to be offered here. I'm trying to find my notes. It's called WOVA. It's an event app.
Yeah, so this year what's going to be different is we're using a conference app. It's very popular nowadays, and I've downloaded it on my phone. It's a free app, and it allows for more networking opportunities. So you could see all the attendees who are going to come. You can private message them if you want to meet up. You can see their bio, their resume. So a lot of connections can be made through it. You can also find our full agenda on there. And also our sponsors will be linked on there too. So it's a great way to have more interaction between all the attendees, sponsors, speakers. So it's going to be a great tool for us, and we're excited to use it. There's another feature in there that you can ask questions. So we'll have several panels during our forum, and so if you have a question, if you're too scared to ask it in person, you could always message it, and then that will get sent in. So that's a great way to get questions out and hopefully get their answers during the forum.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned the dates and times and all of that stuff. Do you have those details?
Sure, yeah. So our forum is going to be the 14th through the 16th November. There are going to be several mixers and networking opportunities as well throughout there. So we have 2 full days of speakers. So that's on the 14th and the 15th. On the 16th, we have a window tour of DoD project sites. So that will be at Camp Blas and Naval Base Guam. And then we also have our Charlie Corn Golf Tournament, which will also be on that Wednesday. So that's an opportunity to support our local scholarship program. That caters to supporting students who are pursuing a degree in architecture and engineering within the Pacific.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E. In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.
Yeah, I was going to mention that Charlie. I was going to save that for last. Save the best for last. The Charlie Corn Golf Tournament. But you did mention the students, the architectural and engineering students, and I think SAME was really want to encourage more of our young folks to get into the field. Yeah.
Yes. So again, building that pipeline for STEM to ultimately come into this industry, and again, become leaders in supporting the industry. So yes, we have a huge stake in supporting students in the STEM field, particularly
Yeah.
architecture and engineering. Yeah.
So maybe you could tell us why you got into engineering as a way to encourage those in junior high and high school who might be considering a career when they get to college. Why should they, gravitate toward an engineering career like you did?
So one of the main reasons why I became an engineer, well, one, my dad was an engineer, so that was kind of my first inspiration to do it. But the other thing too is, when I was going to the University of Guam, we didn't have an engineering program at that time. So I majored in something that was close to engineering. So I majored in math. And one of the problems that I had with math was a lot of it was theoretical. And so what kind of got me thinking about doing more of an engineering is, the things that you work on, the things that you design, ultimately get built, and it's that aspect of making your solution become reality, something that you can physically see, touch, feel is kind of what engaged me into getting involved with engineering. And it's also making also growing up here in Guam, one of the things that I remember as a child was always going to the beaches, and you see it here even today. A lot of the times the beaches were polluted, and so one of the things that I wanted to do was become an engineer so I could help the environmental issues that were going on with pollution that we're seeing in our beaches.
Sure, and the environment is more and more becoming a big issue here, big conversation issue. Tell me, just in closing here, what does it feel like when you worked on a project, you see it there, maybe it's a building or something like that, and you say, "Hey, I worked on that." What does that feel like?
Yeah, I mean, it always leaves you with awe, right? So it's just also it takes a whole team to put a project on like that together, right? So when you're thinking about engineering, you're working on a team of engineers, and it's more than just one discipline. It takes a team of various disciplines to do that. And then if you think about, okay, once you do your design, that gets turned over to your client, they bid it out, and now it's in the hands of the contractors, and the contractors have to take what you've put in, in your designs and build, whatever it is, a building. And it's that collaboration between the architects and engineers and the contractors to really, create something and make it into reality, and the amount of effort it takes to go between that. And so it's really just the awe of just creating something from nothing. You know what I mean?
All right, before we go, Pete, one last opportunity to invite the public out there to attend the Guam Industry Forum 2022.
Yeah. So feel free to come down if you want to find out more information about our forum. You can go on to guamindustryforum.com. You'll find information about our agenda, how to register. You can also, if you're also interested in participating in our golf tournament, which is going to be on the 16th of November, you could Google SAME Guam Post Golf. You can find our link to register for the golf tournament there. It's going to be a great event, a lot of networking opportunities. You get to learn about where the outlook for construction is, not just here in Guam, but also the CNMI, Palau, and FSM. This would be a great opportunity just to see how you can get involved and into this massive construction boom that's ongoing.
All right, that's Pete Diaz. He is a director with the SAME, the Society for American Military Engineers, talking about the upcoming forum. Thanks for joining us, Pete.
Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm Nestor Licanto. Thanks for watching, everyone.
In Full Zoom is presented by Calvo Enterprises Inc. and IT&E.